What's up, guys? It is Supra Sunday here, and we got a little bit of wrench time to go and get in on the Supra here. So when I was up at Sound Performance about a month and a half ago, whatever that was, Larry had actually asked me if the wheel speed sensors were working in the car. I told him I had no idea. I know there was a couple times I went and locked the brakes up, and that's part of the reason I deleted the ABS and didn't bother troubleshooting it or anything like that. So we're going to be going and diving a little bit more into that, because if the wheel speed sensors aren't working, then that means the traction control is not working either, which would make sense, because if you have the traction control on and you're at about 10% throttle or so, then it just sits there and pulls timing and sounds really neat, but you don't go anywhere, which is kind of disappointing. So yeah, we're going to be digging into that a little bit today. I also wanted to go through and bleed the power steering again, just see if we can get that last little bit of air in there so we can get rid of that kind of whiny, grindy type noise that it does whenever you go and turn the wheel. After that, we're going to go through and change the oil in the car again, and also wanted to go through and install this Cody Phillips Racing belly pan. This right here is actually the back of the pan, and this is where the dump tubes go for the wastegates. I already kind of mocked it up a little bit. There are two holes back here that we'll need to go and drill into the subframe itself, and then the two on the front will actually just go and bolt in. So we're going to be doing that today as well. And other than that, I don't know. I don't really have anything else planned, so we'll see what other trouble and nonsense we can go and figure out on this thing as we kind of go and dive more into it. But for now, we got to go and get this thing up on jack stands, and then we can really dive in and get started. So the Stradman always does this thing where he like snaps his fingers and stuff just like appears. I don't know. We're gonna try that. It's not working out too well for me right now. All right, looks like that worked. Let's go ahead and get the wheels and everything pulled off, and then we can go ahead and jump in and get started. I'll show you guys how to troubleshoot our wheel speed sensors with a multimeter, and hopefully we can diagnose it from there. All right, so I went ahead and opened up the garage door, just kind of help cool things off a little bit, because it's kind of warm in here, as you can probably tell from my face. But basically, the way the traction control system works on a Supra, the way I have it wired up with the Pro EFI, is it goes and takes the wheel speed of the front, and then it takes the wheel speed of the rear, and then it goes and dials back the timing from there pretty much. So basically what we need to do is go through here and check that the front wheel speed sensors are working. I'm just going to go ahead and check all four of them. The reason I'm going to check all four is just because right now I've only got it wired up to two. It's got a two-way LSD in the back, so theoretically the two rear wheels should be spinning at the same rate, and then the two front wheels, assuming the car is going forward, should be spinning at the same rate as well. So I'm going to check all four of these just to make sure that they are all good to go. I'm kind of hoping one of them's bad, and then I can just go and flip the wire over and then pull the signal from the other sensor and not have to worry about it. Toyota actually discontinued the wheel speed sensors altogether. I'll go ahead and put the part numbers and stuff in the description just so you guys can go and look it up yourselves. I went through and looked it up in my IPB, Illustrated Parts Breakdown, and cross-checked it with the existing parts number, and it's just said discontinued. In the event that the wheel speed sensors are bad, and there is, you know, like both the front ones are bad or whatever it works out to be, then we're just going to have to be running the Chinese AutoZone Special, or maybe I can find a used one on eBay or something like that. I'm not really sure. But so let's go ahead and get to testing these. So this is my spare parts bin right here. This is, on the axle, your ABS ring. Okay, and you can see it has these little raised kind of squares in it. The sensor goes and sits right about here, so that as this is spinning around, it has kind of like a wave signature to it, except it's like a square wave, if that makes sense. So it'll be a right? And you have these on both the front and the rear. So if one of the sensors is bad, or if it's gummed up with like little metal bits or something like that, then it's not going to be working. So we're going to go and check the sensors really quick with the multimeter. I'll show you guys how to do that. But that's basically kind of the premise. And then if the squares are closer together or farther apart, that's how it determines overall wheel speed and slip. And this here is our handy dandy, as I'm trying to do this one-handed, handy dandy multimeter. When we do this, we're going to be checking ohms, which is the resistance. We should be looking for about 1.4-ish. All right, hopefully this is coming through in the video. I really can't get much farther away than this. So this right here is our wheel speed sensor. I'm going to leave it bolted in. We do just need to go and disconnect it from our lead, which is up here. Right, hold on. This right here is our wheel speed sensor connector. We're going to go ahead and disconnect this, and then I'll plug the leads into there, and we'll go from there. All right, so you can see right there, we're at 1.028. That is within spec. We should be between a half and 1.5-ish, or a half, no, I think it's a half and 2. I think it's 0.5 and 2.0, but as we spin this, wish I could spin it faster, but it's pretty consistent. So this wheel speed sensor on the passenger side front is good to go. I'm going to go through and check the other three. I'm not going to bother showing you guys yet. It's basically the same process for all the wheel speed sensors. So if all the wheel speed sensors are good, that means we have a wiring problem somewhere else. There's a short somewhere, so we're going to have to go through and check the resistance on the ECU side on all 4 sensor inputs, basically. So I'm going to go through and check the other 3 of these, and I will pick you guys up as soon as I'm done, or if I find something in there that is in fact bad. Alright guys, quick update. I went ahead and checked the other 3 wheel speed sensors. It turns out I actually had it wired up to both the right side. The right front was good, the right rear was bad. No big deal, I'll just go ahead and flip it over to the left side. Well, being a complete and utter brainchild when I installed this thing back in 2011, 2012, I completely failed to label anything, so I have no idea what goes where, and I went and shrink wrapped it and everything like that, so it's like nice and tight, and it's really hard to tell what wire goes where. So I'm just gonna go and make a whole new harness for the traction control system, and I'll show you guys the finished product when it's done. Alright, so I got the ECU side of the harness made, and I actually went through and labeled everything this time. Smart. If you look right over here, I don't know how well you can tell this, but you got pins A, B, and C. So we got rear, which is drive wheel, front, which is our speed reference, and then C pin is going to be our return. And then we got our ECU pins and everything down here. So I'm going to go and drop this into the ECU side of the house, and then I will walk you guys through actually wiring up the ABS tap portion, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so basically here's what we're going to do on the wiring part of life. The harness that we're making is basically a 3-pin harness. Alright, so pin A is going to be the rear wheel speed sensor or your drive wheel. That's going to go to J1A01. Pin B is going to be the front wheel speed sensor, which is going to be J1A12. Pin C is going to be the signal return, which is going to be J1A32. Alright, on the back side of the ABS ECU, there's basically 3 connectors. There's a big one, there's a medium one, and there's a small one. All right. Now on the big one, that's going to be our B pin, so that'll be the middle one on the connector. We're going to be looking for pin 5, which is going to be the white wire. That'll be our front wheel speed sensor. Pin A is going to be in the middle connector. All right, so that'll be on that medium one. Pin 9, the purple wire, is going to be our rear wheel speed sensor. So that's going to be pin A on our connector that we're making. And then pin C on the connector that we're making is going to be pin number 1, which is the light green wire. And a signal return on, again, the medium connector. So let's jump inside the car and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Alright, so I don't know how well you guys can see this. I know my light's starting to go out. I need to plug it in here. But if you look right back here, this is our ABS ECU. I think, track ECU, something like that. I think it's ABS ECU. Anyway, so we're tapping the wheel speed signal. And you can see here this blue wire from where I did it before for the other side with the bad sensor, which is why it wasn't working. So this is going to be our white wire, which will go in this connector right here and plugs in here, right down there. And then these 2 is going to be our other sensor, our rear wheel speed sensor, our drive wheel right here for the purple wire. And then the green wire right down here is going to be the signal return, and both of those plug into, if I can do this with one hand, both those are going to go and plug into this connector right here on pin number 1 and pin number 9. So you got green and then purple right here, okay? And that'll plug into this guy right here. After that, we just got to go and wrap it up with some of this stuff, nice little wiring loom, so it's nice and pretty and tidy. And then we'll plug it into the ECU side of the connector, which is already kind of down in the passenger side footwell there. So real quick pro tip, go through and check your sensors and everything like that before you go wiring and stuff up. It'll save you a whole lot of headache and time and everything else in the long run. All right, so now that we got our wiring done, we're gonna go ahead and bleed the power steering system. Basically, what we're gonna do, since this is a gravity fed system, is come right over here. I've already topped it off with some of this wonderful synthetic Valvoline ATF. And basically, once it's topped off, we're gonna go and take the steering wheel, put the key in the ignition, turn it to the on position so it unlocks the column, and then just do basically 10 times in both directions. So it's 10 times each. And then you're supposed to do it with the car running 10 times each as well. That way you have pressure and everything like that to the system. So I do not recommend leaving the cap off when you have pressure on the system, because otherwise it'll turn into like a geyser of power steering fluid when you go to move the wheel, and it just gets really messy really quickly. All right, I have no idea how well this is or is not going to work. Right now I got you guys wedged between the fuse box and the frame rail, so hopefully y'all can see something. That'll do. I'm gonna call that good. So if you can kind of tell right here, it's like it's the top of the cold mark right there. So I'm gonna call that good. As I was putting the ECU side back together, now that we got done with the wiring, I figured, oh hey, while I'm here, I might as well ... figured I might as well go ahead and remove the passenger seat here so that I can finally get around to installing this Killer Koncepts fire extinguisher bracket on the base of this seat here. It's supposed to be super duper easy. There is one hole that you got to go through and punch, but yeah, I don't know. Figured it's Super Sunday, might as well show you guys that too. So when you go to pull off the seat cover over here, so it sits like this, you got 2 screws, screw, screw, and then it'll pull right off and you can get access to what you need to get access to. All right, so this is probably the simplest install ever. What we're gonna do right now, there is one hole we need to drill, and that is here. I did put the bracket on the outside and use that bolt to go and hold it in, just to kind of give us a guide hole, really. After we get that hole punched, we're gonna go and slide this on the inside, just so that way we don't wind up with any clearance issues or any rubbing. This thing lines up perfectly. So give me just a second to go and punch this hole real quick, and I will show you guys what we're doing after that. All right, so that is what this thing looks like without the trim panels on and sitting, outside the car. I'll show you guys a finished product once we actually get to that point. One thing I will tell you, make sure you go and put the bolt head on the outside right like this, and reason being, try to show this as best I possibly can here. If you look down at this angle right here, the heads are going to be flush with this bracket, so you won't wind up with any clearance issues. And same thing on the other side. This, if you look down in line, goes right like that, so you're not going to wind up with the slider hitting anything or anything like that. So just be aware of that. They are also, one other quick tip for anybody thinking about installing one of these. These are 3/8 bolts. I really don't have any standard size wrenches, so that's why you saw me using the adjustable and the only standard size wrench that I actually had. So, but yeah, so just so you know that, I mean, if you want to get some separate hardware, you can. It's not a big deal. They're pretty tiny, or you could just use an adjustable or 2 adjustables, whatever, like I did. So, easy peasy. But let me go ahead and get this the rest of the way buttoned up, thrown back in the car, and I can show you guys what it actually looks like totally installed. All right, so this is basically what this thing looks like installed. I will let you guys know that the removal pin right up under there will need to go from the bottom to the top. All right, you won't be able to do like top to bottom or anything like that just because the seat gets in the way. But other than that, yeah, it looks super slick. It's not going to be any issue at all for the passenger. I mean, they can get their legs over that, no problem, just sit like normal. So yeah, really glad to have it. Not going to be putting out any fires or anything like that, but I mean, at least it'll buy a few seconds until the fire department arrives, so that's a goal anyway. Now I do need to go through and assemble the rest of the interior. As you can see, it's still in a gajillion pieces, so I'm gonna go through and get to that, and I will pick you guys up after I get that all put back together. All right, guys, it is now about 11:30, and as you can see, I am completely covered in grease. I kind of got a little bit carried away. I don't know, I just got in this like hyper-focus zone where I just started banging stuff out and didn't even really think to video any of it or anything like that. So the car is back on the ground now. We got the power steering blade, we got the traction control stuff fixed. I did not go through and install the CPR belly pin yet. I was looking around. It looks like we have a little bit of an oil leak. I just want to go through and make sure we get whatever that is tightened down. I think it might be on the filter housing. I don't know if it's just not torqued down all the way from where they installed the oil pressure sensor. I want to keep an eye on it, so I didn't put the belly pan or anything like that on yet. I did get the oil changed, so that's all good to go. It's got some nice fresh oil in it. We're going to go through and get some E85 tomorrow and test out the traction control, make sure that works, so be looking for that video. That'll be coming here pretty soon. Other than that, the reason that I am covered head to toe in grease, I went through and disassembled the lower control arms and flip-flopped around a couple of the bushings just to give us a little bit more caster adjustment. I'm going to take it back over to Gator, have them dial in a little bit more caster just to kind of give us a little bit better alignment. Other than that, the car is good to go. I'm really stoked to be able to go and hopefully, fingers crossed, the traction control works. So I'm glad we were able to go and diagnose that the right rear wheel speed sensor was actually the one causing the issue. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank y'all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know what your favorite part was in the comment section below, or if you have any questions, anything you wanted me to go over in a little bit more detail, let me know that and I can do that as well. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I will see y'all very soon in the next video. Catch you next time. Alright, I'm going to try not to bobble that or block the camera, which ought to be hilarious, considering I just dropped the multimeter.